6 months pregnant. Suitcase flying. Rain soaking my ultrasound photo. My mother-in-law screamed, "Not our baby." 1 year later, I returned with DNA proof. She saw me coming up her driveway and collapsed. This is what happens when you mess with the wrong pregnant woman. The suitcase hit concrete like a gunshot. Crack. Maternity clothes scattered. Prenatal vitamins rolled into the gutter. My baby's first ultrasound, face down in a puddle. 6 months pregnant. Alone.
Betrayed.
Pack faster, Linda hissed. Her knuckles white on the doorframe. Paint chips fell like snow. But this wasn't the end of my story. This was the beginning of her nightmare. My son kicked inside me. Hard. Like he knew we were in danger. "It's okay, baby," I whispered. "Mommy's about to teach someone a lesson." I had no idea how prophetic those words would be. Linda's voice cut through the November air. "I want you gone before the neighbors see what you really are." What I really was. She was about to find out. "Linda, please." My voice cracked. "Eric won't be back from deployment for 3 months. I have nowhere." She laughed. Sharp, cruel, triumphant. The woman who should have been my shelter was enjoying the storm she'd created. "Not my problem anymore, Rachel. That baby isn't my son's." The words knocked the air from my lungs. 6 months of whispered accusations. Casual cruelty dressed as concern. But never this brutal. "You saw Eric's face when he looked at that ultrasound. You know this baby is his." "Do I?" She sneered, eyes glittering like poison. "What about Chicago?" My blood turned to ice. Chicago. The conference that launched my career. Eric had cheered me on until his deployment orders came. Now she was twisting it into something vile. 2 weeks away from Eric. 2 weeks when anything could have happened. "Linda, that's insane. I know what you are." She cut me off like a slap. A gold digger who trapped my son. Her smile was real now, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "And now that he's deployed, I see clearly. Living in my house, eating my food, using my money for doctor visits for a baby that probably isn't even." "Don't." The word exploded out of me. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." But Linda's smile widened. "Not our baby, Rachel Hayes. Not our blood." The baby kicked again. Restless. Fierce. Like he could feel my heart break. I thought of Eric's last video call. His hand pressed to the screen, trying to touch his son across 8,000 miles. "You're destroying your own family. Prove me wrong." Her arms crossed like a judge. "When that thing is born, get a DNA test. Until then, you're out." The world tilted. My knees buckled. I grabbed the porch railing. Splinters sliced my palm. Blood mixed with tears. "I'm 6 months pregnant. I have nothing." "Figure it out." One hand on the door. Then the killing blow. "Oh, and Rachel? Don't bother calling Eric. I already told him you left. That you couldn't handle being a military wife." My heart stopped. "That you abandoned him when he needed you most."
No.
"No, I didn't." My heart cried. "Eric won't even recognize you when he gets back." The door slammed. Lock clicked. Linda thought she'd won. She had no idea what she'd just unleashed. I stood there, breath fogging in the November air. A jogger passed without looking. School bus rumbled by. Normal lives continuing while mine shattered. My son kicked one more time. Gentler now.
Trusting.
Something broke open in my chest. Not broken. Not beaten. Awakened. I picked up my suitcase with shaking hands. This isn't where my story ends. This is where Linda's nightmare begins. The women's shelter smelled like bleach, mildew, and rock bottom. I stepped inside clutching the pieces of my old life. A duffel bag. A cracked phone that never rang. And silence, so loud it felt like my ribs might split. The intake worker gave me that look. The one you give someone teetering on the edge, who hasn't realized they're already falling. She pointed to a cot near a cracked window. The mattress was thin as a lie. Just as cold. That first night, I didn't sleep. I counted ceiling stains. 21. The 9th looked like a screaming face. How fitting. But something Linda didn't know about rock bottom? It's the perfect place to build a foundation. On third day, I stood before the bathroom mirror. Flickering light. Everything half dead. Sunken cheeks. Bruised eyes. Skin pale from missed meals and swallowed screams. I pressed both hands to my belly. My son moved just barely.
Still here.
Still fighting. I reached into my hoodie. Pulled out the pregnancy test I'd hidden like evidence. 2 pink lines.
Clear.
Bold. Unforgiving. I stared at it, then laughed. Sharp.
Crooked.
Shaking. Congratulations, I muttered to my reflection. You've been abandoned with interest, but abandoned people have nothing left to lose. And nothing left to lose makes you dangerous. One night, I borrowed Carmen's phone. Called Eric.
Ring. Ring.
Nothing. I tried again. Left messages. Silence. Maybe Somalia had bad reception. Or maybe he saw my name and chose silence. He believed her. Linda had spun her version of truth.
Cold.
Calculated. Convincing. Eric swallowed it whole. I'm safe, I texted. And I didn't lie. Silence. But I'd reached out.
Once.
Not for him. For my son. For evidence. Then came Carmen. Mid-40s. Ex-military. Built like a boulder wrapped in denim and attitude. She ran the shelter like boot camp meets battlefield tria. No sugarcoating. No bullshit. But her eyes had seen the dark I was drowning in. One night, stirring pancake batter with rifle cleaning focus. You got 2 choices, sweetheart.
Break.
Or rebuild. I stared into my chipped mug like it held answers. Break's easier, I whispered. She nodded. Sure is. But rebuild tastes better. That night, I cried. Quietly. One hand over my mouth. The other on the flutter inside me. The only heartbeat I trusted. Second Monday. Carmen handed me a flyer. Free CNA training. Stipend included. Childcare covered. Then she asked, You like people? I almost laughed. I don't even like myself. She smirked. Perfect. You'll learn together. I signed up. Not because I had a plan, but because forward was the only direction left. On the first day of class, I walked in wearing thrift store scrubs 2 sizes too big. My heart was hammering, not from fear of failing, but from fear of being seen. Every click of my pen sounded like thunder in the quiet room. But I stayed. By week 5, clinical rotations began. An elderly patient with dementia gripped my wrist, hard enough to leave a bruise. And for a split second, I didn't see him. I saw Eric. My chest tightened. Vision blurred. The urge to run screamed inside me. But this time, I didn't. 1 breath. 2 feet on the ground. And for the first time in forever, I wanted something. So I stayed. Even as I focused on class, my calls and texts to Eric went unanswered. No replies. No explanations. Nothing. Weeks blurred. I learned to lift without hurting, to clean with dignity, to speak softly to souls reduced to pills, alarms, ticking clocks. And somewhere in the silence, in the scrubbing, in the stillness, I found peace. Graduation came faster than I could believe. Second-hand shoes. Borrowed confidence. 3 interviews lined up. Hope rising like a dangerous flame. Last manager asked me, How do you handle pressure? I smiled. Pressure made me. And then I received a job offer. $19.50 an hour with health insurance. Finally, I had a future. I stepped outside. The sky stretched wide and golden. The wind tugged at my collar like it was whispering, You made it. For the first time in months, I didn't see cages in the clouds. I saw wings. Luke arrived 3 weeks early. 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday that felt like the beginning of everything. 6 pounds, 12 ounces of perfect fury. Eric's dark hair, my stubborn chin. The moment they placed him on my chest, I knew Linda had been wrong about everything. This wasn't just my baby. This was Eric's son. Every cell, every feature, every determined cry. This isn't just a baby, I whispered. This is proof. Hello, little man. We're gonna be just fine. But fine was relative. Shelter's 6-week limit loomed like a deadline. Job waiting. No childcare. No permanent address. The math was brutal. I needed a miracle. Carmen handed me one. My sister Samantha has a duplex in Riverside. Not the best neighborhood, but rent's cheap. She loves babies. Riverside. Peeling paint. Chain link fences. Broken sidewalks. Nothing like Linda's suburban perfection. But it was somewhere to go. Samantha was 5 feet of pure thunder. Took one look at Luke. Scooped him up. He sleeps in my room. You? Get back on your feet. That night, I exhaled for the first time in months. We had a home. Starting work with a 2-month-old felt like juggling fire while sleepwalking. Luke cried every time I left. Tiny hands clinging like he knew how fragile our new life was. Half asleep. Hair in a rush bun. Baby spit-up badge on my shoulder. But something shifted in those quiet hallways. The residents, forgotten by the world, welcomed me like I mattered. Mrs. Chen taught me Mandarin. Mr. Rodriguez shared stories of raising 7 kids with splinters and pride. You've got good hands, he said. Gentle but strong. Rare. I started staying late. Extra shifts. Not just for money. The work stitched something back together inside me. Then came Mrs. Patterson. I'm recommending you for the LPN program. Hospital-paid training. Real step up. 2-year commitment. I said yes. Night classes. Day shifts. Luke teething. Samantha feeding me soup. Quizzing drug interactions while I rocked him to sleep. You remind me of myself, she smiled. Were you ever scared you made the wrong choice? I asked. She laughed. Every day for 5 years. But not now. This life is mine. And I was claiming mine too. By Luke's first birthday, I had my LPN license. Real job. Day shift. Our own apartment with sunlight and second-hand furniture. I could draw blood. Ease pain. Hold dying hands. And still make it home for Spanish lullabies. Sometimes, I thought of Eric. Wondered if he questioned Linda's story. But that ache no longer defined me. Then came the envelope that changed everything. Thursday morning. Government letterhead. My name in block letters. DNA results. Luke was 18 months old, wobble walking, babbling Samantha's Spanish-English rhythm. Halfway into scrubs when I saw it. Hands trembling. Numbers blurred until I found the line. Probability of paternity, 99.97%. Eric James Sullivan was Luke's father. Of course I knew. But now I had proof. Not for me. For him. The father who deserved to know he hadn't been betrayed. For every night Linda called me a liar. For every whispered promise to Luke that truth would speak louder than poison. Now it had. I'd ordered the test 3 months ago. Quietly. Carefully. Using Eric's hairbrush from the night she threw me out. Just in case I ever needed science to speak louder than lies. Black and white. Undeniable. Irrevocable. Truth. It was the first personal day that wasn't about Luke. I needed something strong to hold on to. 4 hours. No breaks. Military databases. Deployment logs. Facebook groups. Then there he was. Eric James Sullivan. Still stationed Fort Campbell. Still legally married to Rachel Hayes. My name. His photo blinked back. He looked older. Not in years. In pain. There was a scar along his collarbone. Small. Faint. That hadn't been there before. I found his number. Called 17 times before getting brave enough. Hello. Voice groggy. Sharp. Hi. Eric. It's Rachel. Rachel? You walked out. Words slammed through me like a car crash. No. I was thrown out. I know you left a letter, he said. What letter? I asked. The one Mom found. Said it wasn't my kid. Said you were in love with someone else. I couldn't breathe. Eric, I never wrote that. It was in your handwriting, Rachel. You just believed her? You didn't even ask me? He snapped. I was in Somalia. We'd lost a medic. Convoy got hit. Blast knocked me into a Humvee. Lost my phone. My pack. So that explained the scar I'd seen in his photo. She sent a photo. You laughing with some guy. She forged my handwriting, Eric. Staged the whole thing. Heavier silence. No excuses. Just the weight of what he'd done. Then it's time to hear the truth. I hung up. That afternoon, I mailed the envelope. Not to Eric. To Linda. Inside. DNA test results. Medical reports. Shelter intake form. Hospital discharge papers. Photo of Luke smiling. Eric's smile and his tiny face. And one handwritten line. You tried to bury me, but I grew. In the dark. Through your lies. 3 days later, thunder cracked like the sky was tearing open. Knock at the door. I braced for Linda. But when I opened it, it was Eric. Not the man I once knew. This Eric looked like he'd been to war and hadn't fully returned. Behind me, Luke giggled, unaware his father was standing on the threshold. Eric looked haunted. I was in Somalia when you disappeared. Got hit, convoy ambush. Never got your calls. You just believed her, Eric? I believed her because I wanted a reason not to feel like I failed you. You didn't want to know, I said calmly. Then I gave him the kill shot. My phone. Tapped play. Linda's voice filled the room. You think I care you're pregnant? That's not my grandchild. Pack your filth and get out of my house. Crackling.
Shouting.
A thud. The door slamming. My sobbing. Eric's face drained of color. I didn't even know it was recording, I said softly. My phone was in my pocket. It broke that night, but the snippet backed up to my cloud. Eric sank into the chair, trembling. I have to confront her, he whispered. I met his eyes. Good, I said. But first, send that letter and the photo to a forensic expert. Let's put her lies on trial. Linda's garden party was a vision of perfection. White parasols. Sparkling rose. Laughter as shallow as the champagne flutes. Her guests wore silk. She wore lavender. A color far too delicate for the reckoning that was about to unfold. We didn't knock. We entered. Eric in uniform. Luke in the stroller. Me, in the same dress she once mocked as Charity bin Chic. Linda turned. Her smile faltered. Champagne flute trembling. Lipstick bleeding into the cracks of fear. What is this, Eric? Why would you bring her here? Eric didn't blink. Meet your grandson, he said. The one you tried to erase.
Gasps.
Forks froze midair. One woman choked on shrimp cocktail. Another whispered. She told us Rachel lost the baby. I did what I thought was best, Linda stammered, eyes darting like a trapped animal. She left. I had no choice. I stepped forward.
Calm.
Precise. Pulled out my phone. Hit play. Her voice filled the air like rot. Rachel's unstable, she lost the baby. Cancel her OB/GYN appointments. Gasps turned to glares. Teacups clinked violently against saucers. Someone hissed. You said she was a danger to the baby. You made us cut her out. Linda reached for the tablecloth like it could anchor her collapsing world, and pulled her entire porcelain kingdom to the ground. Eric didn't flinch. You destroyed my wife, he said. You forged letters, doctored photos, hired liars. You cut me off from her and from my own son. I picked up Luke, held him close. Then I leaned in, bent down to Linda's trembling ear. You threw me out. 6 months pregnant. Alone. You said I was a mistake. But I gave birth to your legacy. And now I'm raising him, without a trace of you. Her breath hitched. Then I straightened. Smiled slightly. You forged a letter once, Linda. Let me show you how permanent ink works in court. Her knees buckled. And just before walking away, I looked back once. She sobbed, not because she lost, but because she finally understood. I was no longer the girl she threw out. I was the storm she invited in. 2 weeks later, Linda Sullivan was arrested.
Forgery.
Medical interference. Harassment. The fake letter. The OB/GYN cancellations. Even the private investigator she paid to ruin me. All of it caught in her own web. She didn't cry in court. Didn't beg. Just sat there in her pressed lavender suit, like this was another garden party. Her friends never came. Her lawyer barely looked her in the eye. The judge read the charges like reading off receipts. And Eric, he just held my hand. Firm, quiet, unshakable. When the cuffs clicked around her wrists, she finally turned. Not with hatred, not even regret, but with something colder. Recognition. She saw me, really saw me, for the first time. The courtroom faded. The noise vanished. And in that stillness, she understood. I didn't just survive her. I ended her. With evidence. With grace. And with permanent ink. If you liked this story, subscribe to help our channel grow and join a community that gives victims a voice and celebrates their journey to strength.